Hello, everybody. Mr. Lake here with another chemistry lecture. Today, we're going to talk about Coulomb's Law. Now, we're really going to cover this very conceptually, and this is also building up into an assignment where I ask you to discover some things about Coulomb's Law yourself. So, I'm not going to explain everything exactly in this video. It's really just more of an introductory kind of setting the stage for you to discover some patterns on your own. So, what is Coulomb's Law? Coulomb's law is a very famous mathematical law or mathematical relationship that explains the force of attraction between opposite charges. So, positive and negative charges. It also explains the force of repulsion between like charges. So, if you have two things that have the same charge, like two protons sitting right next to each other or two electrons sitting right next to each other, Coulomb's law explains the force of repulsion or pushing away that they would have as well. And you can see the equation over here on the right, but honestly, we're not really going to, at least not in this introductory class, we're not going to do this mathematically. We are not going to approach Coulomb's law as I'm going to give you numbers and you're going to plug them into the equation and solve for a value type thing. Really, Coulomb's law just sets the stage for us to think conceptually about some trends in the periodic table and gives us an explanation as to why those trends exist. So here's really the main takeaway that you need in order to do this assignment that I keep talking about. You need to know that as the positive charge of the nucleus increases, it attracts more electrons more strongly. So, what I mean by that is that as we move through the periodic table, at this point, you're probably familiar with the fact that the periodic table is in ascending order, right? It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, from left to right, top to bottom, until the end. So it's in ascending rows in ascending order. And that order, that atomic number that things are organized by, is the number of protons. So basically, as you go through the periodic table from left to right, top to bottom, the elements are getting bigger. Specifically, they are getting bigger in the number of protons that they have. Now, also, generally, as the atomic number of something increases, its number of neutrons and electrons also increases. So, generally, atoms are just getting bigger in pretty much all respects as you go through the periodic table. So, as you increase the positivity of the nucleus, meaning as you increase the number of protons that are present in the nucleus, it's going to increase the positive charge of the nucleus, and that's going to affect electrons. It's going to pull electrons more strongly. So you're going to use this kind of fundamental cornerstone of Coulomb's law logic in order to look at some trends in the periodic table and try to explain why are they there. That's the goal of this next assignment. Use Coulomb's law to explain why a couple of trends in the periodic table exist. Now we're going to be focusing on two of the kind of basic and most important trends in the periodic table. One is just the size of atoms. So you might think that as you increase the number of particles in an atom, protons, neutrons, and electrons, as you go through the periodic table from left to right, top to bottom, you'd think that atoms just get bigger. It's not necessarily the case, as you will see in this assignment. In fact, it's not the case. I'm not going to bury the lead here. It is not the case, and Coulomb's law explains why that is. The other thing we're going to look at is electronegativity, which is a little bit more of a kind of a nebulous concept when you're first approaching it. It is an atom's draw on electrons, both the electrons it already has and how strongly it's pulling those into the nucleus, and also atoms of, electrons of other atoms. Because something that we'll talk about in the future is that atoms can be attracted to the electrons of other atoms, which is one of the reasons why atoms bond together to form molecules. So basically, what I'm asking you to do in this assignment is determine how does each of these properties change as you go from left to right across the periodic table, and how does Coulomb's law explain why that is? And that's where I'm going to stop. Like I said, this is just a very introductory video in order to set the stage for you to discover some of these things on your own. So once you've done this assignment that I keep talking about over and over again, we will come back and in the next video, I'll kind of explain all of this and we'll get a little bit more into some of the other things that you might notice and how other things explain those phenomena. All right. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So enjoy the assignment. Have a fantastic day. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care.